Hi there, this is Noah. In this video, we're going to be covering how to get started with our tools in Office 365 and WorkCycle. This includes mail and calendars and online meetings and sharing and storing files and many more tools. This is for those of you who are just getting started, and we're going to start at the very beginning. So the first question we ask is, what is WorkCycle? This is our name for our implementation and platform based on Office 365, which is Microsoft's collaboration platform, which includes many tools that you're probably familiar with, including the Office applications like Word, PowerPoint, Excel. It also includes Outlook for email and calendars. It includes Skype for Business, which is a tool to instant message and have online video calls and meetings. It has OneDrive. It has a number of other tools that we'll go over either in brief or in some depth in this video to get you started. The tool set is based upon mostly the browser. So you'll be using either Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge or another browser on your computer, or it also has different apps that you can install, including notably the Microsoft Office apps on the desktop, or you can also install various of the apps in mobile form on either your iPhone or your Android phones to get access to files and email and so on when you're out and about. So we're going to be covering mainly using the browser-based tools here, which you can use on any computer, whether it's a work computer that's given to you or if it's your own computer that you have. Either way, you'll be able to use these tools. So let's get into the first part of this, which is the first thing we need to do is we've probably gotten notification, hopefully, of what our username and password is. And it would look something like this. It would be an email that says that you have a new username and an initial password for your account in WorkCycle. This email address and username, that's one and the same. We just use those terms interchangeably. And the initial password is something we'll talk about using briefly and then changing. So the first thing we'll want to do to use the tools is go to any browser. You could use Google Chrome, and I'll be showing Microsoft Edge on Windows, but any browser should work. I recommend these two. You want to go to office.com. So just in the address bar, you can simply type office.com and go there. When you get there, you'll see that it's offering you a couple sign-in buttons. So click the one of your choice, and then you'll see an email and password asked of you. So I'm going to go back to my email that I got, and I'm just going to copy this. You'll learn how to type it out, but for the sake of speed here, we'll type it, we'll copy it. And I'm also going to copy my initial password, and I'm going to paste that in. I could type it in as well. So I'm going to click Keep Me Signed In, and then I'm going to click Sign In. Now, we should be getting logged into the Office homepage. And this is the first place that you'll often see if you're just going and signing in like I just did. Something that might be handy to do is to set a bookmark to get back here quickly in the future, since this is probably something you'll use on a daily basis. The way you can do that in Edge and in other browsers is to find this little star in the upper right and say, click that. It's going to add the bookmark into my favorites, and I can add it. And now in the future, you can see the star is lit up, and if I click on this menu here, I can find my Microsoft Office Home. That's what it called it by default. We could rename this WorkCycle Home or whatever you like that helps you remember, but that's what it is. So now that we've got a bookmark for coming back in the future, we can take note of what we're seeing here. First of all, we have a number of options along the top. So we have this thing in the left-hand side, which is called the App Launcher, and it's also called by me the Waffle menu because it looks like a waffle. It has all of your apps as icons underneath this, and there's you'll see the same ones that you're seeing in the middle of the screen here, except that there's a lot more inside of this. And there's going to be even more under the All menu, and we'll take more look at this later. We also have a link right here that's called, it says Office 365. If you click this link at any time, wherever you happen to be, you can always get back to this page. So it's just a quick shortcut to get back. If you're lost, you don't know where you are, you just want to get back and see this right here, just click Office 365. And then on the right hand side, we have a few different things. One is notifications and a little bell. If you drop this down, you'll sometimes get notifications about new messages that have arrived or emails or things that it wants to tell you about. In this case, it's telling us to set our time zone, so we'll look at that in a minute. If you want settings, it's this gear icon, and you can see that it pops up in front of you. We'll get past that in a bit. You can set more settings in here. Just be aware that these are the settings. In help, which is this question mark, you can get access to a whole bunch of documentation, and we'll revisit this in a bit. Just know in general, if you ever have questions, most things that you do in this platform are just Office 365, and if you do a Google search for something, you can often find the answer to what you're looking for. Let's say you wanted to do an out-of-office automatic reply. You want to set that up, you're going on vacation. Well, you can just go to Google and say how to set up away or out of office in Office 365 or in Outlook, something like that. Or if you wanted to know how to use Sway, which we won't even talk about, but it's a tool in the tool set, you could just say, Sway tutorial, things like that. And then finally, in the very upper right, we have a little icon for our picture that we're going to upload in a moment, and we also have our name. If we click on this, we can see a few options. One is to sign out, if we ever want to sign out and then sign back in later, or we're trying to reset something and it's not quite working, we can sign out here and then log back in. What we can do though, let's actually start out here by going to About Me. If I click on that link, and this is going to take us to our profile page, which they call Delve, which is a tool for searching. But one of the things it has on this page is the ability to upload a photo. So if you just hover over this little camera icon and you click on it, you can see that it's giving us a way to upload a photo. So I'm going to click on Upload a New Photo, and I'm going to select my photo that I have. And we have, at different locations, we have cameras that you can use to take a really nice headshot if you don't already have one. So this allows you to drag it around. So we're going to center Pam right in the middle of this. You can zoom in and out if you want to, but we're going to set that as our profile photo, and you'll see it shows up here. It will often take up to 15-20 minutes or something before you'll see this photo appear everywhere. It takes a little while for it to percolate through the system. So you'll notice in the upper right, it's not quite showing up there. Just be patient. It will show up everywhere soon. So now that we've got a profile photo, let's go ahead and change our password, since we talked about using that as a temporary password. Well, the way we can do that is we can go to the gear icon, which is settings, and we can go to Office 365, which brings us into our general settings area. And if we go to security and privacy, we have an option to change our password. So let's go there. On this page, all we need to do is simply provide our old password, which we had back in our email. So I'm going to come back here and copy that thing again, since I can't remember it. And then I'm going to create a new password that I can remember. This should be a strong password, and that means that it's a weird password. It's very strange. It's not like monkey123, which I know you were thinking about, but I can guess that. And likewise, puppies456, not strong either. Something that's strange, it has numbers, it has weird characters in it, something that you wouldn't guess, and it's unique to you. So I'm going to choose something like that, or pretend to, and it's going to tell me whether it thinks my password is strong or not, and I'm going to submit. Once I've submitted, that it's going to check if it thinks my password is good enough. And even though it said strong earlier, it decided that it wasn't very good. So that's good. It's actually keeping me honest. So I am going to pick another password that I think is good, and let's see if it likes this one. Hey, it looks like it took it. Great. So now our password is set. What I like to do at this point is actually to sign out and sign back in with a new password just to make sure that I can remember it right away. Otherwise, I'm going to be very confused as to what my password actually is now that I've logged in with one and changed it to a different one. So let me go ahead and close all of my browser out. I'm going to go back into it. And what did I do earlier? I created a bookmark. That'll be handy. Let me just go to my bookmark and go straight to the home page. And it actually remembers my email address that I previously used. So all I need to do now is type in my new password that I just changed it to. I can select this Keep Me Signed In to sign in for a longer period of time. And then I'm back, and that worked. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually take a tour around. You'll notice these icons. Mail and calendar and people are all actually under one common app, which is called Outlook. You may have heard of it. It is a email app and calendar app. And the first time you run it, you'll see this welcome screen that you can just go through. It wants you to choose a time zone in a language. So select the correct time zone where you are. Hopefully it selects the right one by default. It allows you to choose the theme. I'm going to leave it alone, but I could choose a kitten if I wanted to, if I was into that kind of thing. And then it wants me to add a signature. So you can do this later and update it later, of course, but the default signature that we often go with is like our name and our title in bold, and then, or actually that would be italics, and our name could be in bold if we wanted it to be. This again is a little bit subject to preference, but try to match what others have been doing. We could say what our company was and make that regular. We could put our phone number, and we could put perhaps a email address, or sorry, not an email address, but a website, something like that. So again, you can change that. I just wanted to show you, you could set it initially. So it's saying let's go. We're setting up our inbox now. So that's mail. Let's actually let that get itself set up a little bit and just take a little bit of a tour around some other things. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is OneDrive. So OneDrive is a cloud storage tool. It allows you to save files on your computer or on your phone or elsewhere, and also online, and it keeps everything synchronized. You may have used things like Dropbox or Google Drive. This is exactly the same type of thing. This is actually still waiting to get set up, so we'll come back in a bit. The first time you log in, things are getting set up on the fly. So let's actually come back to that in a second. So back on the home page, we had a link that we may have noticed that says Install Office 2016. This is slightly different on Mac than it is on Windows, but if you install Office 2016 on Windows, that includes the normal applications you're used to, which is Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and Outlook, and OneNote. And it also installs Skype for Business. Skype for Business is what we want to run to use for online meetings and calls. So the way you can look for it is if you go into your Start menu, and once it's installed, we're not going to cover that right now. You can look that up separately. But if I search for Skype for Business, or if I search for Skype, you may already have Skype installed, which is the regular personal Skype. Skype for Business is what it sounds like. It's the one that the pros use, evidently. So let's use that. If I click on this, it's going to open Skype for Business. And the first time you run it, it may show you a little welcome tour that you can go through and see what it can do. But in the sign-in address, we actually want to type the email address that we used previously. So this is a theme that you'll notice every time that you're asked for an email address or a username and a password inside of WorkCycle, which means any of the tools that we deal with, whether that's Outlook or Skype for Business or OneNote or anything, or OneDrive, all of them use the same account. So just remember that. It's always your single account. You may use other things that don't use this account, but for everything inside of this realm or this set of tools, it's true. So I'm going to enter that same password. And I'm going to say save my password so I don't have to enter it again. And I'm going to agree to save it. And what that should do is get me logged in for the first time. Once I'm logged in, I'm going to see the contacts list show up first, and we can add anybody that we want to just by searching for anybody in this list. So if I wanted to search for this person, Noah, he seems cool, I can right click and add to my favorites. So now every time that I look at my favorites list right here, I'm going to see that Noah is here and he is away for apparently the last 40 minutes. He can also be reached through instant messaging, through calling, through video chat, and we'll be able to set up meetings as well. But I just wanted to show you that. That's Skype for Business. So let's leave that running in the background. One thing you'll probably find valuable is that everybody in the organization, everybody on the team is part of a common directory, and we can all look each other up and get access to contact information really quickly. You can do that in what's called the directory. It's the corporate directory, and if you click on People, you'll get to that directory. So this is actually part of Outlook, which is why you just saw Outlook come up. But it's inside of this that we're actually browsing through our directory. It'll show you things like people who you contact and who are on your calendar and who you want to follow up with, all of that. What you might be interested in is just looking under the directory section. And if you open this up, you'll see that you can browse through just in an alphabetical list of the entire directory, including any contacts that we may have defined in here. Just scroll up and down. Now, if you find something by scrolling, that is one way to do it. You can also search, which is in the upper left. So if I wanted to find out what the phone number was for Noah, I could start typing Noah's name, and he would hopefully appear pretty soon. If I click on him, you can see the contact card comes up. So I could send emails, I could chat, I could call. Here's the phone number. I can see who his manager is. I can see files that he's recently worked on and other things. So that's how you find information quickly about people. You should never be stuck in a situation where you have to ask somebody what's somebody's phone number or what's their email address. Everybody is in here. Just typing names is going to usually get you what you need. And then finally, I'll point out OneNote. OneNote is an application that allows you to take notes just like it sounds. And that's actually a very useful thing to do if you try to be organized. So OneNote right here, if I open this up, it's like Evernote, if you've used that, or other note-taking tools. And it allows you to choose what you are, if you want to be a teacher or a student, because this can be used in a classroom. However, if we just want to get a generic notebook, the way that it's set up is that it organizes pages in notebooks and sections and pages. So you can think of it as an analog to physical notebook. You can have more than one notebook, of course. In your notebook, you can have different sections. You can create many different sections, and every section can have one or more pages. So that's the breakdown. And then you can say, I'm going to take notes about meetings, and this is my meeting with Noah. It seems to be going very well. And so there you go. You've just created your first note in OneNote. You can do lots of awesome things like inserting pictures and files and attachments and recording audio notes to yourself and drawing things with a pen or highlighting. Lots of crazy stuff you can do here, but I'll just let you explore that. You can find it on OneNote Online and also as part of Office on the desktop and on your phone, so you can take your notes with you. Okay, let's go back to email, everybody's favorite subject. I'm going to open that by going into Mail, and hopefully by now our Outlook mailbox has been all set up and everything is ready to rock. The first thing you might notice when you open it for the very first time is it's telling you about this thing called Focused Inbox. And what this is trying to do is to sort your mail automatically into two buckets. One that it deems important, and the other, called Focused, and the other is things that it deems less important. So things like newsletters or group emails or any kinds of things that you might be sent from, subscriptions and things like that. You can turn this off if you don't like it. The main reason people like it is because they can get a filtered list of important emails in the focused area and just pay attention to those, and then occasionally they can check the other. If they don't like it because it puts things in other that they would consider focused, you can train it by moving it between the two, or you can turn off the feature. All of those things are in the mail settings, which are in the settings, like I mentioned before. Go up to the upper right and click on settings. You'll see that there's some things in here related to mail now. Automatic replies, display settings, how you manage things like add-ins, and then if you go into mail, you'll see a whole bunch of things, which includes in it Focused Inbox. So this is just an example. I'm not going to go into all of these settings, but I just wanted to show one example of a setting that you could use to turn something on or off. There it is. So you could say sort or don't sort my messages. All right, so that's Focused Inbox. Now, we've set up the signature. We have set up our time zone, so everything should be good in that department. If we want to send a new message, we can just click New, and that opens up the composition pane on the right. Again, everything in here is tied into our directory, so if you wanted to email somebody, just start typing their name. You don't have to remember email addresses. You can just look for somebody by their first name. There you are. You could start typing other names that I happen to know and just add multiple people. You can also put people into the CC or the BCC if you wanted to do that. Beware of BCC. It can have strange effects. But I'm going to send an email to Noah. I'm going to say something like, how about lunch? Because Noah does enjoy lunch. And at the burrito joint. So I'm going to send this. I can do things that you'd expect. I can do all the formatting. I can insert things like tables. I can insert a smiley face like that. and some emoticons like this, even though that's not a burrito. People will be confused. Pictures, you can attach things if you want to attach. I can attach things from OneDrive, like I mentioned earlier. If you put everything in OneDrive, you'll be able to directly get to it right away, not having to browse through all the stuff on your computer to find what you want. It'll all just be there by default. You can also go to your computer and look at any file that you have locally on your computer anywhere. You can pick from that. For some reason, you could attach a new Office file if you wanted to create one right before you send it. I'm not sure who does that, but you can do that here. And then we'll not talk about group files right now, but that's just where you attach. And then sending will send things to the person. So it's pretty simple. I think you have all sent an email before, so I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm just going to point out that if you get emails, then there's a few options you can have is in terms of where you store them. So I've got this email that just came in and I want to get rid of it out of my inbox. Well, there's a couple things I can do. One is I can click Archive. Archive sends it to an archive folder, which is underneath my folders inside of all of my folders in my mailbox. I have this archive. That's where they all go. By default, again, if you click this archive button. I personally use the archive button and I don't delete emails. That way I can always search for them later. The other thing I could have done, let's say that I wanted to take that back and I wanted to move it back into the inbox so we can demonstrate another option. What if I wanted to organize, I didn't want to dump everything into one archive. I wanted to create things about lunch, which is a great category of emails that I apparently send a lot. If I want to take this, I can just click and drag it, and I just put this email into that folder. So that's another way to organize. You can archive, you can put in folders, it's up to you. And again, if you wanted to see all of your folders, by default, you're just going to see a select list of them. Click More, which gets you your full view here. So you're going to see more things, including what you've deleted, what you've sent, what you have in draft, and so on. Pretty cool, right? Now, what if I wanted to find that later and I'm in my inbox? Up in the upper left, I can simply search, hopefully for burrito, and I found it. Here is the email with burrito. So very handy if you want to go back and see what past lunches you've had this week so you don't go to the same place every day, which is a struggle. So that's basically all of the things we want to cover about email. One thing that I believe is important that is a personal preference, but I'm going to point it out nonetheless, is that by default, every time a new message arrives, you're going to get a notification up in the notifications bar, and it's going to chime at you. So unless you want the office to be sounding like Las Vegas, let's go ahead and turn that off. And the way you can do it is by going into the settings and going into the mail settings, and underneath I think it is message options, underneath automatic processing, we have two options that are on by default. Play a sound when new items arrive, no thank you, and display notification, which is a pop-up. I also think that's obnoxious and distracting, so I'm going to turn that off. This way I can check my mail when I want to, and it's not interrupting me all the time. So there we go. We've just made our email lives a little bit saner. Awesome. So now that we can send email, let's talk about creating meetings. The way we do that is in the calendar. So we can come into calendar, and again, we see Outlook. Outlook is the thing that has mail and calendar, and so that's why you see them with the same name. You'll see an empty calendar to start with, and of course, you may want to create meetings with other people. So the thing to do with that is just go to new, and that will bring up the dialog to get you a new meeting going. They call it an appointment, which is a little bit goofy, but we can turn it into a meeting by adding people. So I'm going to create an appointment, and we're going to call this Burrito Planning. That's the title of the meeting. It's going to commence. We can add a location. This by default will be searching different things that if you want to actually put something at a place that's on the map, it'll actually search the map, public maps for things. So we could say we're going to schedule at this Chipotle right here. And if you don't want to, you can just close that, and we could say Chipotle, but then I'll just click off of it and I'll just leave the word that I wrote. I don't have to select one of those options that come up, which can be confusing, I think. We obviously can set a time and a date. So I'm going to say that this meeting is going to start at 11:30 p.m. because I like a fourth meal. And we're also going to set it in a different time zone if we want, but it's going to default to your own time zone. You can say to repeat this on certain times. You can say to give me a reminder in advance. You can say to show me as busy or free or away. All these things that you can configure. Now, one thing to be aware of is that everybody's calendar by default is available to be visible to everybody else. And the reason we do that is because we want to be able to easily understand what other people are up to and be able to schedule meetings with them effectively. So the best way we can do that is to allow our meeting invitations to be seen by others. That means that by default, other people besides Pam will be able to see that she's going to do some burrito planning. Now, if she is a little bit shy about the fact that she's into this kind of thing, she can change the visibility of this meeting to private. And what that does is it shows you a little lock icon right here. And that's going to say, instead of showing burrito planning to everybody, it's going to show private appointment or something like that. So they won't know what she's up to, just that she's busy during this time. All right, so just be aware of that. Doctor's appointments, things that you're talking about, the performance of Noah, things like that, you definitely want to make those private. Otherwise, awkwardness could ensue. So how do you make this a meeting? Well, you need to add people to come to it. Right here under people, we can add people who are required that we want to attend, or people that are optional that we're just giving an FYI. So again, just typing in somebody's name or entering their email address so you have it. If it's an external person, you can just simply add attendees like that. So now there's 2 of us, and we're going to be setting a meeting. What if we want to figure out when are we both free? That's kind of tough to do sometimes. Instead of emailing each other, hey, when are you free? When are you free? The way we can do this is called the scheduling assistant. And this is an awesome tool, and definitely take advantage of it. Click on scheduling assistant. It brings up a new side-by-side, all of the people in the meeting, their calendars side by side, and we can just look and see where is white space occur between the 2 of us. So in this case, we can select a given time. You'll see this is hard because the 2 of us don't have meetings scheduled, but let's just say that we are going to a future date right here. So let's say we tried to select that time. You could see that it says, hey, Noah is busy during this time. Pam is free, but Noah's busy. Therefore, there's a conflict. Not a good time to meet. But if I selected a different time like this one, it says we're both free, no conflicts, and then we can say, okay, awesome. We're going to go ahead and take that slot. For my purposes right now, I'm going to take this time. Probably this time. How about that? I'm going to say okay. And we can put our agenda here. talking about versus white rice. So we want to include an agenda to tell people what we're talking about. The other thing we often want to do, if not always, is to make this a Skype meeting. And the way you can do that is this button should be lit up right here. If you click Add Skype Meeting, it says your Skype meeting will be created and we're going to give you details. What does that mean? It means that the meeting is going to have a virtual room attached to it, that people can just simply click a link to join, or they'll also get a phone number that they can dial into. So this way, when your meeting starts, if one or more people is not physically present, they can just dial in, or they can join from their computer, and everybody's together in a virtual meeting space. So this is awesome. Even if you're meeting together in the same place, you might just always add these just in case. We can just now send this to our colleagues, and you'll see it now appears on my meetings, on my calendar. It's right here. If I click on that, you can see it now says join online or join by phone. So that gives you an indication when you're looking at this that Skype for Business can join this. And that will show up, by the way, hopefully, right here. So if you go back into Skype for Business, all of the meetings that you have on your calendar that have Skype meetings attached will show up in this handy Meetings tab. See, we have burrito planning coming up, and it gives me a button. All I have to do to join this meeting is click this button. One click, I'm in. No fiddling around with anything, no calling a number. I just immediately get into it. So it's pretty awesome. Now, the other thing I mentioned earlier was you can view other people's calendars. And how do we do that? Well, we can do it in the scheduling assistant when we're making a meeting or scheduling one, but we can also add it on our calendar so we can just see somebody's calendar in full. The way we do that is to go into the calendar and we go add calendar up top from directory, and it's going to pop up a little dialog that says from the directory who. So I'm going to type in a person's name again, select them, and click open. Now you see my calendar alongside Pam's calendar. And you can see all of the stuff that's on my calendar in this color. If I wanted to change the color to something else, like orange, there we go. Noah's orange and Pam is blue. You can also change your own color to something else, like pink. And you can see yourself clearly. Now, what do you want to do? What do you do if you want to get rid of this? Well, you could click the X here and it gets it out of your view. You can also add it back just by toggling this on and off. So you might have mini calendars here at the ready from your team, and you just sometimes click on one, take a gander at what they're up to, and then you turn it back off and hide it. So that is the calendars. You'll also see, not right now, but this gets synced up periodically as a list of company holidays will be here, and also time off. People who are away on vacation, there's also going to be a calendar here that shows you who is away, and you can just understand if people are away just by looking at that calendar. Any calendars, by the way, that I want to get rid of, that I don't care about, I can just right click on them and say remove. So I can remove that one. And what if I am a Scrooge and I don't care about holidays? I can remove that too. So that is all I want to say about calendars. Let's go into the next subject, which is one of the last ones. We're almost through, which is SharePoint. SharePoint is a very important piece of our tool set, and it is where you share content or files with other people. When I say share, that's a little broad of a term. We can share things in many ways. We could email stuff to each other. We could share actually from OneDrive. You can share from one person to another. And actually, we need to take a look at that after SharePoint. But those are sort of point-to-point sharing, like you to me and me to you? What if we want to share with the whole team and have a central repository where we can all look for documents? That's what SharePoint is. So if we went from the home page, it's not going to show up by default. It's going to be under the all list. And I didn't tell you yet, but you can customize this app launcher, rearrange things however you like them to be, so you can get to the most important things that you use a lot at the top and hide other things. That what we definitely want to do to get started is find SharePoint. And that's going to be under the all section, under other at the very bottom. Unfortunately, it's hidden away at first. What we can do is click the three little dots there and say pin to home. And what did that do? It took it into our home page of our app launcher and it put it down in the bottom. So let me click and drag this way up to the top so I actually have it right in my upper left, because I'm going to use this frequently perhaps. And now whenever I want to access SharePoint, I can come to this icon and click on that, and it's going to open up SharePoint in a new tab. The thing you'll see in SharePoint is, depending on where you are in the organization, you might see some different icons here. In Pam's case, she can see guideposts because she's in a guidepost role, let's say, and also she sees this thing called the Resource Hub, which we'll take a look at as well. But when you come here, you just need to choose what area are you interested in or you need content from. You'll know pretty soon like where your stuff is, quote unquote, for your team. In this case, let's just say as an example that Pam works at the El Dorado school. So she can come to El Dorado and she can find on the left all kinds of information that she might need. So there's things about calendars at the school. There are things about the facilities, about health and safety. There's information about IT and the systems that are in use at the school, and so on. So all of this stuff you'll become familiar with depending on what you use and what you need access to. Just to point out a couple things you'll see. One is that whenever you see these view files or you get into what are called document libraries, these are just kind of folder structures where you can put files and folders. So it's telling you that it's got a nifty new look that if you haven't used SharePoint before, you'd have no idea what that means, but trust me, it looks a lot better than it used to. You can create new documents here. We could create new Office documents. We can create links to other things. We can create folders. We can upload files or folders from our computer. We can go into different folders and download documents. We could open documents directly from here. If we just click on a document, it'll often just open straight away right in the browser. We don't even have to download anything. And we could just view this file. When we're done with it, if it's in a viewer like this, you can click in the upper right, the little X hides that back away. So you'll see that often with different files if you're just looking for something. Now this is kind of tedious to be clicking around into different places. You don't know what you're after. One thing you can do is in the home screen of a given site like El Dorado, I can come to the upper right and I can search. Let's say I want to search for toddler. So I like toddlers. I'm going to search for that and I'm going to get a list of results inside of here. So I can see the daily report form. I can see a conference report. I can see some orders for the toddler classroom. I can see all that stuff. So search is your friend. You can always get to search again by going to the home screen of a given site. You'll often see it in the upper right. And sometimes you'll see it in the upper left if you're inside of a place with files. The other thing I'll point out with SharePoint is that if we go back to the starting point of SharePoint, which again, you can just come back into WorkCycle SharePoint right here. So let's get right back out to where we start. This other side of things is called Resource Hub. And that has a few things in it at the time of this recording. One is called Know-How. If I click on the upper menu here, Know-How is the knowledge base about different things that you might want to be able to do, such as how do I scan a document? How do I transfer a call? How do I send a fax if you need to do such a thing? How do I share a video with other people? All of these things you can find little pages on. So if you need to know, or somebody else needs to know in the team, how do I reset my password? You can just come to this page and you can follow the steps that it provides to do whatever it is that you need to do. So always check there if you're having a question about anything. There's also this in the upper right. I mentioned it earlier, but we didn't say more about it. If you click on the question mark icon for help, let's say that I wanted to know how to set up an out-of-office message for when I go on vacation. You can just use this to search out of office. So it's telling you, it's automatically finding things that apply to that. Or what if I wanted to change notifications? Set up your calendar notifications, turning on reminders or turning off reminders. This is a very fast way to get to things. Just going into the help and then typing whatever you think might turn up the thing you're trying to do. Now, OneDrive. I talked about OneDrive, but we never went back. So how could we do such a thing? If we go back to OneDrive, you'll see that initially it's empty. So you can think of it as a single folder. You can call it your OneDrive or my OneDrive. I'm going to put stuff in my OneDrive. You have the ability to create, as you did in SharePoint, think of this as the place you put stuff for you. It's like your place for your own files, and SharePoint is stuff for the team. So it's either your stuff in OneDrive or the team stuff goes in SharePoint. I can upload and download and create right in here anything I want. Let's say I wanted to create a Word document. Just say new Word document. And I wanted to write up something really quick. Just say, let's say burrito strategy, and we're going to outline our strategy, which is to eat them all. Pretty simple strategy, easy to know that this will succeed. So once I'm done, I can click on my name, which takes me back to my OneDrive, and I'll see my document there now. I have a new document called document by default. That's not a good name. Let's rename it. If we click rename, burrito strategy is a better name for this. And as you can see, once I select it, I can do things like I can share it to other people. If I want to send Noah, I want to say, hey Noah, check out this document. I can send them either a link or it'll send them a link, but you can choose, do you want to send it to people who are authenticated, which means only people in the team can see it? Do you want to send it to anybody on the internet if you're collaborating with people in the wider world, or to specific people? I want to say that only Noah can see this because he's the only one who understands burritos, right? So then I do that, and it should send it to the person that you're sending it to. You can send it to entire groups. There's a lot of flexibility. So I just sent that. That's a share action. You don't have to share things, but you can share them from here if you want to collaborate on people or with people. You can download it, you can delete it, you can move it, you can see the full version history of every time it's been changed. Remember how I said if you screw something up and you're like, oh, I wish I had an old copy of that document? OneDrive handles that for you in a version history. This can be invaluable to not losing copies of data. If you delete anything, there's a recycle bin. So let's say that I delete this. Away goes my burrito strategy. I didn't want to do that. Thankfully, it's in a recycle bin in the cloud that is restorable right away. So I just restored my document, and I need to refresh to see that, and there it is. Okay, and so the final thing that I want to show you is that you can sync this with your computer, meaning that all of these files will be local on your computer in addition to up in the cloud. And the way you do that is a one-time thing. You say sync your OneDrive to your computer. Click this button. It's going to open up a little menu. Hopefully it remembers who you are, and you click sign in. You may have to enter your password, maybe not, but if you do, it's all the same as before, as we've been using. And once it's set up, it's going to just tell you, hey, by default, we're going to put it in this location. I'm going to sync everything. You can choose to exclude some things if you want, and then it'll set that up for you right on your computer, and you'll see your File Explorer blinking because it now has OneDrive WorkCycle, which tells you if you happen to have personal OneDrive, it's going to stay there alongside it. Not going to mess with that, but now we have a new OneDrive, which is for our work, which is awesome. My document is right there. I can just open it directly on my computer. I can use the full Office apps to edit this, and I can save it, and it'll go back to the cloud. All my changes will be saved. Noah will see it when I update the strategy with additional key items. So that is OneDrive. I strongly recommend you just follow this simple rule of thumb, which is everything you create for work, put it in OneDrive, just right here. If I'm going to create a new document, don't go over to My Documents or whatever on your computer. Don't put it on your desktop. Put everything, just say everything whenever I create a new document and I create a new file and I want to save it somewhere, my choice is OneDrive. The reason I do that, again, you don't want your computer to die and lose all your files. If you put things in OneDrive, they're immediately synced and immediately backed up, and you're never going to have to worry about that scenario. Which it's not just on you if something bad happens, it's on the team if you lose something important. So please do be responsible with that. All right, have I sold OneDrive enough? It's really cool. We have tons of storage, so don't be shy about putting stuff in there. Now I will tell you about one final tool here, and I haven't even covered all of them because it's impossible to do this in under several hours. There's much more, but I just want to tell you that we have a couple of tools that we can do video with, so our own internal YouTube kind of deal. At the time of this recording, there are two of them. Eventually there will be one, but I'll just point out both. One of them is called Video, which is pretty simple. Click on Video, you'll see what this looks like. It is a place where you can upload and share your videos, and if you just go to the home page, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff. It's good for uploading training videos. We can see here that we have some training about how to do things in a classroom, and we have some training on different systems, training for IT. You'll sometimes be given links to come watch in here, and all you do to watch these is you just click on one, and the player will come up, and it will start playing the video, and everybody will be happy. So this is video. This is the old one. I say old because it's being replaced by a new one, which is a fancier one called Stream. So the way we can get to Stream is to come to our app launcher and find Stream. And it looks like this arrowhead right here. So let's click on Stream. It will open up. It's a similar type of thing. It's a place where you can upload and share your videos. You'll see different videos available, and you can watch the videos here. So if you find something that's interesting, or you can create a link to it and send it to somebody and say, hey, go check out my video. all of that is available. You can add things to your watch list. You can put them in channels and so on. And you can get transcripts and find a specific point in a video by something somebody said. It's pretty nifty. This will eventually be replacing video, and everything from the video app will come over into Stream. So just be aware of that resource for you. Okay, so that is all that I have to say. I hope you've made it through this arduous getting started process. I'm sure, 100% sure, that I did not cover all the possible questions you may have. And so the way that you deal with that situation is, number one, like I said, there are many resources available on the web that you can just do a simple Google search often and find answers. You can also request help from the support team, either somebody on the school side or the campus. Get help from your peers, from your manager, from IT. We're all here to help. So I think you'll find it a useful system for you, and we'll all make it better together. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.